bit behind schedule because of floor duties. And so at this time, I'll call the meeting to order and ask for bill introductions. Representative Bloom. Do you have that card on that guy? For KDHE for a couple minutes.
Madam Chair, Committee, I request the committee accept the introduction of Bill RS 0969, an act concerning easement creation and approval by governing body when required.
Any objections? Seeing none, the bill request is approved. Thank you. Okay, we're going to continue on with the Kansas Wildlife and Parks. Oh, okay. But first, we're going to have a 2-minute presentation by Dennis Kriesel, Deputy Director, Johnson County Department of Health and Environment, who did not have the opportunity to speak when we did the KDHE environment budget. So I believe you're on WebEx, Mr. Kriesel?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent.
Please go ahead.
Well, thank you very much, Madam Chair, members of the committee, for accommodating me today. Dennis Kriesel, I'm the Deputy Director for Johnson County Department of Health and Environment. And I had one enhancement request that we wanted to propose regarding KDHE's environmental budget, and that would be to seek a $1.54 million allocation in fiscal year 2026 to support base grants under the Local Environmental Protection Program, or LEPP, as defined under KAR 28-66-2. Just as a quick summary, I believe in fiscal year 2024, LEPP started to be funded again. However, those funds currently over the last couple of years have only been for targeted grants that only apply to a handful of counties that seek them. We would like to see LEPP restored to what it was doing for counties from 1989 to 2012, where all counties that applied were eligible to get funding under the formula as defined under 28-66-2. So all the details are in my written comments. I know you guys are running long, so I don't want to belabor it, but I will stand for questions at this time if there are any. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir. Committee, you should have written copies of his written comments with you. So if you have any questions, I'm sure he has contact information there. So thank you. Also would like to welcome to committee Representative Vaughn. She is replacing Representative Alcala today, so welcome. Okay, we now will continue on with the Department of Wildlife and Parks. Luke gave the budget summary yesterday, so today we will invite, you can state your name for the record, and you can give us an update on the agency. Thank you. Welcome to committee.
It's supposed to be blue. Okay. All right. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss the Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks budget today. My name is Barb Albright, and I'm the Chief Fiscal Officer. I've been with the agency since September, so not very long. Feel free to take it easy on me. Madam Chair, as you're aware from your conversation with Acting Secretary Kennedy, he's unable to be here today. He is at the Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks Commission meeting in Manhattan. So you should have a copy of his testimony, written testimony, but I would like to touch on a couple items that I want to draw to your attention. The Legislative Budget Committee recommends proposed cuts to our budget that threaten our ability to conclude dam maintenance projects and fulfill essential operating functions. So we are asking that you reconsider eliminating the $1.9 million in state general funds that we plan to use for dam maintenance in fiscal year 2025. Originally, this was appropriated in fiscal year 2024. It was appropriated $2.5 million. And we have already spent $800,000 for the work towards getting ready to prepare these dams. And the other consideration I ask is the approximately $700,000 from the State Economic Development Initiatives Fund that are critical to our operations. The $400,000 of that is for our parks, and another $300,000 for operating expenditures. And with that, Madam Chair, I will stand for any questions.
Committee questions. Representative Roth.
Greetings, I'm glad you're here. Thanks for being here. But I do have some questions. You're asking to add some money back in there. In 2023, your total tag and license revenue was $29 million for tags and licenses. And in 2024, it only dropped down to $13 million. The local television station, 27 here, had an article, a news story about the number of hunters that are dropping in Kansas, or the people going outdoors. And so then in 2024, the non-resident tags, there was 21,815 tags available and 32,955 applicants. So that looks like a net loss of $5.3 million in revenue that you could have had if we had non-resident tags available. Also, non-residents with preference points, there was 10,644 of those, which equates to a 6.4 million loss in revenue. So total loss of non-resident revenue would be 11.7 million. So if you were wanting to gain more revenue, it looks to me like you would want to have the addition of a lot of non-resident, I guess, hunting tags or licenses and stuff like that.
Unfortunately, Representative, I'm unable to answer that question, but we can get back to you with that information.
Okay, but, and that's fine. And then I had a question, and I was ready to ask this question. I think I asked the question at the last meeting about dam maintenance, because you're asking for dam maintenance, and then we have the Department of Ag that's got millions of dollars in dam maintenance. In fact, Secretary Beam told us there were 6,000 plus dams in Kansas that need to be fixed or done something to. So do they not do dam maintenance, or you're doing dam maintenance and they're doing dam maintenance? I mean, I just need to know who's doing the dam maintenance.
Madam.
Oh, I'm sorry. That didn't come out right.
Madam Chair, Representative, we actually have our chief engineer here, and I'm going to let him answer that question for you.
Yeah.
Please state your name for the committee.
Thank you. My name is Brett Blackburn. I'm the Chief Engineer at Wildlife and Parks. I think I can answer your question. The dam maintenance that they basically oversee and take care of and they give money for are going to be the high hazard dams and the significant hazard dams. Most of all the money that we have asked for was to do deferred maintenance on low hazard dams. And essentially what it amounts to, we had dams that have not been taken care of over the years, and the operators don't work. And then as people have downstream water rights, or as we need to do maintenance on the lakes, don't have the ability to do that. And the reason we didn't spend it all last year is because we're limited to the consultants that we can use, and they have specialty divers that they go. And what we have to do is we have to take the divers down to the inlet. They have to measure the inlets, and so then they get it up. We fabricate a plug or a plate. They go back and put that on, and that process is taking this long, and we're in the process of now actually doing the maintenance and the repair. But anyway, so we are working with the water office on some high maintenance, high hazard dams, but they don't, the grants they have don't apply to these low hazard dams.
All right, that's helpful. Chair, I have a lot of the questions, but I'm just going to defer those right now.
Representative Carlin.
Thank you. This is pertinent to what he was asking. So I'm asking, what was I asking? Could I speak to the person who was just talking? I'm sorry. Because dams are showing up in two other budgets, and I didn't realize that it was on this one. But so is this a reappropriation that you're asking for
Yes,
from
ma'am.
last year? And we got numbers just now, but I hadn't seen them, so it was 6.4 million. Oh, would you go over those numbers again?
Yeah,
Did you
yes,
have those
ma'am.
numbers?
2 years ago, we had asked for, a grant from the governor for, to be approved by the legislature for about $10 million for the dam repair. We were allocated $2.5 million, which covered those low hazard dams. And when I say low hazard, that doesn't mean they're insignificant dams, but and that the bodies of water aren't significant. But it took us so long to get the divers engaged and get it done. We had to ask for the money to be reappropriated, but we plan on getting it done by the end of this fiscal year.
If I could follow up. We've had some staffing issues over time and engineers and people, and you said it took them a long time to get it. Was it because of the work, or was it because the persons to do the work weren't available, and have we corrected that?
Yeah, and essentially, we are limited by rules to which engineering consultants that we use, that we have on contract. And specifically, one out of the ones we use has within their purview a bunch of divers that they contract with on a continual basis to do the work. But there's not very many divers who specialize this, and they don't just do the state of Kansas, they do all across the Midwest, and so we were kind of in line. But the process itself takes a long amount of time. So it didn't have anything to do with our staffing, it had to do with the ability of people to do it, ma'am.
Well, the other question I have then is about low risk, high risk. We hear that term, and the term high risk is being used in another budget. And could you just tell us what that is? Is that?
There are various numbers of factors that deal whether it's a low hazard or a significant hazard or a high hazard, and most of that's determined by statute and regulation, and it's administrated by the Department of Water Resources, or DWR, yeah, part of the Department of Ag. But in general, a high hazard dam is going to be one that if the dam breached, there would be a road that would be inundated, or there would be houses that could be flooded. And there is a long list of factors that go in to determine what it is. And in fact, they're pretty much getting ready to do away with the significant hazard, and then they're going to be high hazard. But also, one of the things that they're trying to do in their new budget with new personnel is reevaluate all the dams, because more than likely, there's probably more high hazard dams out there than are currently, have that.
Thank you very much. And my last point on that is I had a constituent issue about dams on their property a few years ago, and they were very concerned because they were considered high-risk dam. They were above Highway 18, right up the hill, right straight up. And I didn't realize that dam was there, but when I went to see it, I could see why it might be risky. If it would go, there wouldn't be time for anybody to get away from it, perhaps on the highway.
And under the classifications, there has to be a certain amount of freeboard that each dam maintains, so that there is time if the water started to flow and it started to come up. Also, dams will have like primary spillways, emergency spillways, but in time, and there will be times where the Department of Emergency Management, for whatever it is, the county or the city, whoever is notified, and then they have time. The theory is they're supposed to have time to evacuate before the dam overtops.
Not to take a long time, but then in my constituents' case, they were being asked to pay a part of that. So in wildlife and parks, dams, do private individuals who own land, or is it all paid for by parks and wildlife? Or
In general, we always take care of, we have allocated money out of our funds for dam maintenance, but we're about, 2 years ago, we were about $1 million behind. Now, we've still got this 1.8 million left to finish out of 2.5 million, but our current needs are probably in the range of 9 to 10 million right now.
Well, I meant to ask you if the private landowner pays any part of it, but being it's parks and wildlife, I don't know if there are private landowners involved.
They don't on our
Okay,
dams, because we own
thank
those.
you. I'm sorry it takes so
Thank
much
you, ma'am.
time, but I wanted to get that clear. Thank you.
Questions? Representative Roth.
All right, and I don't know if you can answer this, because my original question from yesterday was on page 8 of the budget summary, Federal Endangered Species Fund. It talks about adding 4 million for whooping crane and eastern black rail recovery, and those are migratory birds. So are we building habitat for birds that just fly through? I mean, that's my question.
Madam Chair and Representative, no, this is a pass-through grant, for a federal grant for us to help monitor the endangered species of the whooping crane and black rail birds.
Okay, and then just for the committee's knowledge, my first question that I asked regarding the lost revenue by the Department of Wildlife and Parks because of not offering, the landowner tags or enough non-resident tags. If you did, to the demand, you would have, and the numbers I've got is 11.7 million. And so you wouldn't be short $1 million in this fund and 2 million in this fund or something like that, because you would have the money for doing that. And so I think we're missing out on a lot of revenue in Kansas by preventing the economic boom for people coming to Kansas and hunting.
Representative Rogers and then Representative Curtis.
Thank you. I have a quick comment and a quick question. There's a lot of talk about dams. The dams in this are state parks. We're not talking about Bobby Joe and his little pond. Those are the other ones we're talking about. So we talk about dam maintenance here, it's on our state parks and lakes and so on. The question I have, Madam Chairman, I'll be quick, I know, but, we don't need to rush through this. We have rushed through this junk and we're missing stuff or we're adding stuff without having a discussion. So I think we should take our time. So my question is on the Federal Raise Grant Fund.
You want to reference your page?
It's on page 8 of the summary. It looks like there's some pass-through money and some SGF money on that. Did the feds decide to finish the Flint Hills Trail, to start that Flint Hills Trail, or was that a state decision? Or what can you tell me about that?
I'm going to let Mr. Blackburn answer that one.
Thanks, sir. I'm not the definitive expert on it, but I can address the Flint Hills Trails as it stands in here. We applied a number of times and then finally got a raise grant from the feds. The grant amount was $24.3 million. It was actually $27.3 million, but we had to come up with the $3 million. And in general, the trail has been taken care of by largely pass-through grants that we've got through KDOT, and KDOT administers those projects. This project is through the Federal Highway Administration, I believe. And so we needed the $3 million of state general fund so we could leverage that to get the other $24.3 million for the trail. And that should basically complete the phases of the trail.
Okay, so that, when you did that grant application, it was for the trail
Yes, sir.
specifically, can't be used for anything else?
No, sir.
Okay, Madam Chair, I hate to belabor this, but since it says rebuilding American infrastructure and sustainably and equity, is there any way to get a copy of what that means? I mean, if there's other things that we've got to do special things on that trail to make it, in light of this administration and what they've done?
Yeah, we will surely do that.
Okay.
And all, basically what it is, in a nutshell, is alternative transportation grant. The same thing that has basically allowed us to get the money from the feds to the trails.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Questions, Representative Curtis?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So my question is in regards to the conversation about if we were to issue more permits, how that we could realize more revenue. We've had extended discussions about that in this committee. And so could you share with us what, I am so sorry I have that echo. Could you share with us what that consequence would be if we were to issue all of the permits that we were able to? My understanding, that would be perhaps a very short term, maybe 1 year. We have a whole bunch of hunters come in and we would pretty much lose our status as a state that hunters really want to come. I don't know why I'm echoing.
No, it's too hot. So when they turn it real high.
It does it to me all the time.
then it'll
So I'm sorry. So that's my question. Can you address that? Like, what would be the consequences if we were to be aggressive about those additional hunting license?
Madam Chair and Representative, unfortunately, I can't answer that. I've only been here for a few months, but we would be happy to get that back to you. I know, as you've said, there's been a lot of discussions, and I would want to defer to the biologist and the secretary before speaking on something I'm not knowledgeable enough about.
I appreciate that, and since we have new members that have not had the benefit of that discussion in the past and how that would indeed harm our state in the long run as far as being a state where we're able to attract those hunters for the bigger, and I'm talking about things I don't know, those bigger deer. So I think that would be important information before, for this committee to have so that they understand that dynamic.
Absolutely, and we can, Representative Mosher, or Madam Chair, sorry, decide how you want to move forward with that.
Yes, if you could have your biologist give us a report and send it to our CA, and she can disperse it to the rest of the committee.
Okay, absolutely.
Other questions? Representative Bloom?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Good afternoon. I doubt if you can answer this, but I'd like an answer back sometime. For years in our part of the country, we've had tons of deers. The damage they do is unbelievable. Our fences, crops, vehicles. For years, we've had, tons of damage from these deers. The fences, the vehicles, our crops. It kind of coincides with the other two representatives are saying over there. It's so bad older people won't drive at night. We've had 3 deaths. And don't tell us that it's because of these hunting groups that just take the bucks. We have a lot of bucks. You can get a buck anytime you want to. We tried to get free tags for the farmers and ranchers to pay them back some year or a little bit, and that fell flat, because you were so against that. How are we supposed to just keep paying for this damage year after year after year after year? I mean, it's really getting old. I mean, when your older people won't get in and drive, there's too many. And we always hear there isn't, but there is. Some mornings we feed more deer than we feed cattle.
Okay, and Representative, we can sure have the secretary get with you and/or respond to the whole committee.
Thank you.
Let's have a response to the entire committee, please. Thank you. Representative Roth?
Is it possible you could just send me somebody's email address? Because I've got a number of questions that actually delve deeper into your budget narrative information as well. And so, and not just the budget summary. And then along with that, that would be good. And then I could just send my questions to them, and then I could just share the answers with the committee, if that's all right, Chair.
Yes, that would be fine.
Yes, Representative, we can, our Chief of Staff, Legislative Liaison Martin is here today, and he can for sure give you his email address, and we can take care of that.
Any other questions? Representative Carlin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've just been trying to figure out this budget process, as I know others of us are. And I finally recognized, with a lot of help yesterday after our meetings, that what we are looking at in this beautiful budget that says it's all of our budgets, not just this one, but there's a column that says Legislative Budget Committee recommendations on the far right. And then on each of our descriptions of all the things we are discussing, most of these have actually got a comment that says, for example, it says agency says to delete 6.3 million from ARPA for something, and the LBC says no change. That means the LBC agrees with it. But I finally got it out of somebody that we don't have any enhancements to look at.
Chair and Representative, that's correct. We have not asked for any enhancements.
And I get that answer as well, but, so is it an enhancement then? And maybe I'm not talking to you. I think I'm just talking to the committee, and I'll bear down on that. But the 1.9 million that you mentioned for dam maintenance is a reappropriation of money that you've already gotten. And is that approved in this? I'm sorry, I started too soon, but things go pretty. Is that approved in here?
They're asking for it back.
Uh-huh. So where is that? Okay. Oh, it did deny it. Okay, they deleted it on page 3. What's page 12? Let me look at 12. I just want to know where we are. I'm just still trying to get the process.
Yes, it's on page 3 and page 12. Page 3 for 2025 and page 12 for 2026.
And so is it approved anywhere?
No, the LBC deleted both requests.
Well, I'm going to ask when we work the budget, I will be asking to reinstate that amount. And I don't know if it's you considering it as an enhancement as the department or what, but the need is there. It's been appropriated once. They didn't spend it all. And then there's another a bit of money, $700,000 for economic development money. Is that for dams as well? I don't know what that one is for. This is from a note from Mr. Kennedy, Secretary Kennedy. So that's what I'm working on.
Madam Chair, Representative, that is 300,000 just would be taken from our operating expenditures if that's deleted, and 400,000 directly goes to our parks.
What did it come from? It says economic, it's the EDIF fund, but what was the use for it? That's what I'm trying to figure out, where we need to spend it if we were able to reinstate it. Where does it be spent?
The 400,000 will be spent on parks, maintenance, roads, buildings, and then the 300,000 is just the right overhead operating expenditures.
Regular maintenance.
Yes.
Of maintaining your budget. All right.
Yes.
I apologize, but I never know when I'm going to get to ask a question about this. And trying to clear up in our budgets, I thought, for several days, I thought, and this isn't necessarily to you, it's to the committee, that when the LBC said no changes, that means they approve it. But that doesn't mean that it's what the agency would really like to have. It's just basic bare bones. So there are no enhancements in this, and while the LBC took all the enhancements out, they also said that we could add things back. So that's what I'm trying to communicate to the committee. And if I'm wrong, somebody will get a hold of me. But I'm still trying to figure out the process.
Could you show us in the budget where the 700,000 is? What year and what page?
So the 700,000 is in fiscal year 2026.
Okay. Page 10.
Is it in page 11?
Page 10.
EDIF operating, EDF parks, EDIF.
Page 10, number 12 and 13.
Okay, they're in here, that's why, that's what we have, that's how we
Yes.
find it. I don't know.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
And so this economic development money you're using to operate? It says operating expenditures.
And that's been, I don't know how many years, but a lot of years. That's just the amount that we have been appropriated. It was something the governor had asked for. And the majority of it goes to our parks. And then a little bit for their just operating contractual expenditures.
I find it very interesting that you're using economic development money for a regular operating account.
Yeah, I mean, it's for the maintenance, for parks and operating.
But economic development does not equal, in my mind, to maintenance and upkeep. Just throwing that out there. Representative Carlin.
One more time, I'm sorry, but I think the parks and wildlife are recreational, tourism, and they benefit the state economically. So I do think that's why it's in there now. We can agree or not, but it doesn't have to be a bricks and mortar building to be economic development. And it's always been this way, but that's the way I saw it. Thank you.
Thank you. Dylan has some information for us.
Madam Chair, so I just wanted to clarify the status on the EDIF funds. So they have been a long-term funding source for the Department of Wildlife and Parks. That decision was made by a previous administration with the idea that the parks are like tourism, okay? And there's a tourism portion in the statute for EDIF. That was the justification. These deletions do not fully delete EDIF funding for Parks and Rec. So the original request was for operating expenditures, $2,042,000. That was brought down to $1,750,000. For park operations, it was $2.4 million. This brings it to $2 million even. And it adds a little bit for National Gardens and veteran licenses, going from $123,891 to $124,000 even. There was a discussion during the Legislative Budget Committee during the interim that the EDIF fund was underwater, was requiring transfers in from the State General Fund to keep it with a zero balance. And so the chair indicated that they were making adjustments in order to bring that fund back into balance.
So by taking out 12 and 13, they still have EDIF funds.
They do, of course, that was only one of many adjustments that were made to the EDIF fund. Commerce had quite a few adjustments, and you'll hear about that on Monday. I'm sure they'll talk to you about it. There was also an elimination of the State Housing Trust Fund transfer. We've made some pretty substantial investments in housing, moderate income housing over the last 3 years, and so they removed that. And also eliminated funding for broadband, for the broadband program as well.
Other questions? Representative Vaughn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just looking at the other changes that the agency is recommending, but that is not necessarily recommended in the LBC base budget. Under all other adjustments for 25 and 26, you're deleting funds, but wanting to add an FTE, and the LBC recommended not including that FTE. So I was just wondering if you could talk about what that position would be doing and why it's important for the department to see if that's something that we would like to add back in.
Madam Chair, Representative, yeah, that is, in all honesty, we can do without that. I think it's a technical, it's either technical on our part somewhere, but it's fine, the FTE. We don't need it.
Other questions? So Representative Vaughn's question was on page 10, item 11, all other adjustments. And that was the FTE that was eliminated and the agency agreed. Committee, other questions? So I did have to look up the word yurt, Y-U-R-T. It was on page 4. It's like a fancy tent. And Lovewell is in my district, so I was interested to see what they were. And it's like, yeah. Yeah, well,
Glamping.
glamping, that's right, yes, yes. So back to the 1.9 million that you would like to have reappropriated. Exactly how many dams do you have left to evaluate? How many are there? I think he said that, but how many? You said that there was a backlog of divers to fix, but I need to know.
I think he has a page, a listing that he can give you as well, so.
With the inflation and the cost adjustments that come, this list that we're passing out is the ones that we originally intended to do. And it's broken down in the ones that we ended up having to have the divers do the work. And again, it's a 3-step process. So we have to have them come out a minimum 3 times. And then the others that don't have the dam, they're maintenance things that have to go with maybe dam slides or erosion or more minor repairs, but they're still repairs that have to be done. And, but the primary, the primary asking for this was because those operators are to be operated every year. And that's a requirement that we have. And all these ones that you see that have the 3 dives, those operators cannot be, they're not functional. And so we have to go in and replace them, and it's a pretty extensive process.
Could you get us some prices on what those different procedures cost?
I can give you some estimates. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see. Because we need to know what the 1.9 million's going for.
We can sure provide that. That's not a problem. And honestly, we're hoping that the 1.9 will cover it.
Representative Roth.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just surprised to see, this is Cali Lake that you've got on this list, and you've got it in A now, but earthwork and erosion repair. It wasn't just a few years ago that lake was drained, and wasn't there some work done at that time?
Yeah, all of these that were on here were ones that were on the list that we need to do for our requirements. And Cali is just one of them that needs some attention, even though I believe it's Cali and, I think we had another one. I'm sorry, I can provide it to you, but I can't remember because my staff were taking care of those. But there are a few of them that are basically potholes or dikes that they let water in when water is available. A lot of times they don't have water, but more, they're similar to what we have on the public lands for hunting access for waterfowl. But also, I believe some of them are smaller and they have fisheries with them too, but they're not really extensive and they don't have large dams. But I can get you that information.
Representative Rogers.
I know, I'll be quick. I know we're over. Not for you. You're fine for now. And I know you know the answer probably, but I'd like, if you could provide to the committee what the numbers are and what the trends for these lifetime hunting licenses for the youngsters, the real young ones we passed a couple years ago, how that's going. And also, we have an issue with, is it the lifetime hunting for senior licenses? Yes, that kind of rambled 2 or 3 weeks ago, and just kind of an update on that, or I think we've got a bill going through that, but just kind of just for sure numbers for us. And if you could provide that to the chairman for the committee, that'd be great. Thank you.
I believe Luke has the answer to that question. Luke, are you with us?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Drury, Senior Fiscal Analyst, Legislative Research. I do have those numbers on total youth lifetime licenses from 2022 through January 6th of 2025. Those total youth total 6,288 for the senior license, and that would have started in 2013 through January 6th of 2025. That is 65,726. Those are the total number of those youth and senior lifetime hunting licenses from inception to and through, like I say, about the middle of January of this year.
Thank you. Representative Roth.
So I'm not really up to speed on this, but it used to be you were 65 and you didn't have to get a license. So now you have to get a license if you're over 65?
Madam Chair, Representative, yes, there was a sunset on that statute. And so there is a bill that's being ran to reinstate.
Thank you for that answer. I've had a lot of people ask me about that, and they're like my age, 65 and older. And so they feel like they're getting ripped off by having to have a license, so.
And we're trying to get that corrected, but that was the only way. There has to be a bill ran.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Questions for Wildlife and Parks, either the money side or the policy side? Seeing none, the time is 3:05. We need to adjourn, and I apologize again for not getting to work these budgets. We'll do our best tomorrow so if anyone has any questions or concerns, we need to make sure we get those answered before tomorrow. Tomorrow's schedule is what? We're going to have to work Wildlife and Parks tomorrow or Monday. We're going to have to just do some rescheduling.
I mean, that was today, so we're
Yeah.
moving forward, just moving forward.
Today's Wildlife and Parks. We're finishing that up. And we're going to hear Commerce last tomorrow. But first,
Still doing water office recommendations and health and environment recommendations.
we'll try to do water office recommendations and KDHE environment recommendations. And then we'll do Commerce. We'll hear Commerce, and then that'll give a couple of days to get Wildlife and Park questions answered and any changes that people might want to make. So
We're not working Wildlife and Parks tomorrow.
no, we're going to work water and we're going to work KDHE environment. I promise. Oh, and ag is on there as well.
We're not meeting tomorrow, so this ought to be 30.
Will people have 3:30s tomorrow?
Tax.
Yeah, yeah. I'm in a spot. I need. Okay, so we'll start with water, we'll do environment, and then we'll attack KDA, and then, not literally, but anyway, then we will do KDA, and I know those people know I don't mean that. Anyway, I apologize for running behind, being on the floor today, and we might be on the floor tomorrow, who knows? Okay? Maybe we'll push all of Commerce to Monday, and we will get all of this out to committee members when we get these changes made. All right. Thank you for your patience and your understanding. We are adjourned.